Hey everyone, I'm Jay.
And I'm Sean.
And we watched some movies.
Yes, we did.
So I was very recently covering the Berlin Film Festival. I already talked about the worst movie I saw there, so I thought it would be maybe nice if I put a positive spin on things and talked about some of the stuff I really enjoyed.
That sounds nice.
So, I think some people don't always understand that this is my job. I watch and review movies on a site, and then we just talk about them here because we like talking about movies. So at a film festival, I'm not necessarily watching all movies that I'm going to love or all movies that I even would choose for myself. Film festivals are like that. But I watch them so that I can talk about them or write about them accurately. I think that's the only fair way to do it. But I am glad that I liked quite a few of them out of the Berlin Film Festival.
Well, that's good because you did see the worst movie ever as one of your
So something better make up for it, right?
That's right. You deserve some good ones.
I thought so. So one of the first ones that I really liked was called Petite Mama. So this is a Céline Sciamma film. You may know that name. She is a terrific director. Recently did Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And yet I still wasn't prepared by how much I would like this movie. Especially watching this movie, it seemed so small and fragile of a movie. Like it seemed almost insignificant story-wise, and yet it had such an emotional impact, although never asked for anything. Like it does not at all try to elicit emotion. Like it really stays very under the radar the whole time. So if you know movies, then you know Céline Sciamma is a talent, but this movie really blew me away, I have to say. So it's about a little girl named Nelly, and her grandma just died. So she's at her grandma's house, they're cleaning it out. But her mom, and it was her mom's mom who died, her mom is going through some stuff and she leaves. So now it's just Nelly and the dad packing up the house. And Nelly's a little bit, she's a little girl, so she's a little sad her mom is gone and she's a little worried if mom is coming back. And we come to understand that that mom has been sad for a while, not just because her mother has died. So there's some stuff there. But we don't get super into it because obviously it's a little girl and she lacks a lot of the language for what's going on or even the understanding. But happily, she makes herself a little friend out in the backyard. She actually goes out into the woods looking for like a little cabin that her own mother made when she was a child. She hopes that it's still there, even though it's like a treehouse, she calls it, but it's on the ground and made of branches. So yeah. Odds that it has endured like pretty 20 low. Years or whatever, pretty low. But when she's out there, she actually comes across another little girl who is working on a treehouse, let's call it, because they call it that. Now what Nelly understands is that this little girl is her mother. It is her mother as a little girl. So is this like a time travel movie? Is it? No, there's nothing sci-fi about this movie. It's just an accepted fact because this story is told through a little girl's eyes and she's not asking questions about how did it happen, why did it happen. She's just kind of thrilled to have a playmate her own age, and even cooler, it's her mommy. She's missing her mom, and now her mom isn't here, except her mom is also 8 years old and wants to do all the same stuff. Yes, exactly. And so they play together and they're excellent little playmates. It is adorable to see them complimenting each other. It's just sort of like heart-melting stuff, how cute it is. And the girls are played by twin sisters, Joséphine and Gabrielle Sanz. So cute, these two. You just want to see them like hold hands and skip away into the sunset. It's adorable. But they also talk to each other. They have like some surprisingly real talk for little kids. And, you know, the kind of stuff that'll pull on your heartstrings. And Nelly does confess, like, you know, in real life, because she eventually does tell her mother that you're my mother. And Mom just accepts it because they're 8, and so you don't have to ask the big questions.
That could be a thing that just happens.
It did just happen. And so she's like, you know, I miss you. I hope you come back. And the little Petite Mama, the little mom, is like, I think I will. And little Nelly's like, I hope it wasn't because of me. And the little mom is like, it's not you. You know, my sadness predates you. I really don't think it would be you. And I'm like, the amount of comfort, these very simple questions and answers, you know, this is just something that actual mothers and daughters could never really say to each other. And yet, 8-year-old to 8-year-old on that level, it's so innocent and yet I thought so deeply affecting. And one thing I thought was very stirring was the little mother asks, did I want you? And Nelly answers, I think you did, yes. And the little girl says, that doesn't surprise me. I'm already thinking of you. While like stroking her on the, I was like, oh my gosh. You know, I am not somebody who can say, like, I don't think I have mommy issues. And yet on like some level, this movie just hit me. And like I said, it's super low key. There's not a lot happening. It's really not trying to like emotionally manipulate you. I thought it was really cleverly done, very well written, but it's just a very small, sweet movie. But I just felt such a tug from it. I had to, like, when the movie was done, I had to just go into the shower and cry. I could just feel it welling up. I knew I had to do this, and I did. I had a huge sob fest in the shower over a movie that was like, why? Like, it's not a sad movie, and yet somehow it adds up to something really emotional. So I have to say, I really liked Petite Mama.
It sounds like it did.
It does sound that way, doesn't it? So another one I watched by director Maria Schrader is called I Am Your Man. So in this one, a scientist named Alma, played by Maren Eggert, agrees to do some product testing. So in exchange for this, she'll get some funding for her lab, and that's all she really cares about. And she knows the guy on the ethics board who has to review the product, and so they're trying to get people from all walks of life to review the product. So he will appreciate, you know, that she's got a scientific background and can talk about the product in those terms. But the product in this case is a boyfriend. It's like a robot man. Looks human, but it's totally artificial intelligence.
He's a vision.
He's actually Dan Stevens from Downton Abbey. Dan Stevens. I did not know he could speak German. This is a German film. Apparently he's multilingual. So he plays Tom the Robot Man, who is made specifically for Alma. So, you know, to get an accurate reading, they've built these robots to give you pleasure, to be your perfect soulmate. So they are scanning your brain in order to make the algorithm that will go inside the robot and be your perfect match.
Sounds like a can't miss.
This could be idea. The end of loneliness.
And the end of men.
They make women too.
Okay.
Okay, they do. They'll, whatever your preference is, they will make you your perfect match.
All right.
Yeah. He does have an interesting button for that. It's not, you just kiss him and then he's ready to go.
Wow.
But you have to kiss him first. So, yeah. That's all. It's awkward because what if somebody else kisses him? I don't know what happens then. But anyways, So Alma, though, is a scientist. She's not interested in love. She's not actually looking for a boyfriend. She just has to like live with this robot for 3 weeks to give her honest opinion on it. And she does, but she, you know, kind of openly resents it or does not think much of Tom, let's just say. And Tom kind of takes it personally because he's been programmed to be her perfect match. And he can't stop trying to be her perfect match. He's trying to date her constantly, to woo her, to romanticize her. And she's just like, leave me alone, go sit in the corner. So, you know, they're not on the same page. What will happen to Alma and Tom?
I'd like to find out.
Well, you can. It's the movie called I Am Your Man. And just a little sidebar, these movies at a film festival, it could be months or years before they actually come out to the general public. When they are coming out, I will let you know, but don't go looking for any of these movies right now. I think people sometimes are mistaken when I talk about these movies. Usually when we're reviewing movies, people are always like, haven't seen it. I'm like, of course you haven't seen it. It just came out today. That's why we're putting it out today. Festival movies, you won't be able to see for some time. That is the case for I Am Your Man, but I'll let you know when it comes out so you can find out whether or not robot men are a good idea. Da, 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 da.
Da, 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 da. Or you can watch other movies in the meantime, and they will tell you almost consistently that robot men are not a good idea.
Okay.
Ever.
Oh, what a poop you are. I don't think human men are usually a good idea either, and yet...
Here we are.
Here we are. Speaking of human men who are not a good idea, Ted K is the next movie I watched. That is Ted Kaczynski, otherwise known as the Unabomber. So guess who this movie is about?
The Unabomber.
It is indeed about Ted K. Yes, played by Sharlto Copley, which is the reason I watched this movie, because I love him. But this is a weird movie. I don't know if I can fully recommend it because it's not for everyone. It focuses on like a 7-year period right before he was arrested, right, like leading up to his arrest. He is off the grid, living in a shack, has no money for even food, so he's constantly begging his mom at a payphone to send money. So we just basically see him in his shed. We see him not doing well, really, just in the world, not coping well with the world. He's aggravated by anything that makes loud noises. He's definitely got a problem with women. But mostly we just see him by himself. So it's a lot of, you know, quiet, crazy man moments. And then, yeah, working on his manifesto, writing coded words in his diary, like 25,000 pages worth. And this movie is based on those words that they found, his own words, and it's filmed where his little shack was. So they're really going for authenticity, but they are not going for like big bang stuff. Like this is not like a scandalous, juicy kind of movie. It's very quiet. It's a very quiet character study of this guy. And we don't get to know him that well because he doesn't interact with anyone. He doesn't want to. Sharlto Copley is very good. It's a difficult movie to play it one-handed, though. It is very hard for a guy who just doesn't interact to still be able to convey things about him. So we do see him construct his bombs and the letters he sends into newspapers, but we never see really the consequences because he's not interested in that, so we're not interested in that. So people are getting blown up, people died, but this movie is not going to take that time. We're not thinking about the victims or what it meant to the country. We're staying with this crazy man. And I don't like to use that word, but when you spend time with Ted K, there's only so many conclusions you can draw. And this guy was super unwell, but he kind of wanted to be that way. Like he really wanted to be by himself. He had to know that he was not like other people. And yet he really just indulged that side of himself. So it's hard. It's hard to watch.
That is hard. Certainly he did not strike me as a charismatic individual. So
No.
to just focus the movie entirely on him seems like a difficult task. Because he's not going to be likable or compelling, I would assume.
That's right. So that one's directed by Tony Stone. Another one I watched, and I think you watched at least some of it with me, is called Je suis Carl.
I did watch the second half of this movie with you.
Okay, so directed by Christian Schochow. This one stars Luna Wedler and Janis Niewohner. So he's Carl, she is Maxie, a teenage girl who survives a terrorist attack. So a bomb goes off in her apartment building and her entire family, save for herself and her father, die. Her mom, her siblings, I think there are about 10 fatalities total. So it was
It's a big blast, yeah.
Yes. Now, when we sort of look back on the day, we realize that it was the dad who brought the package in. So a delivery man, a courier comes into the lobby of the building and is looking for an old lady, and the dad says, "Oh, I'll grab this and I'll bring it up to her." But instead of bringing it directly to her apartment, he leaves it in his own apartment because he's got to go out and get wine for dinner. And just a few steps from the building, it goes up. And we see him like grieving and sobbing. He doesn't even know that Maxie has survived at first. But, we finally, the two of them are reunited. But grief, we all do it really differently. And it can either bring you together or it can isolate you. And in the case of Maxie and her father, it isolates them. They grieve down really different paths. Which is too bad because Maxie is still pretty young. She's like 16. So she is pretty vulnerable when she meets a cute boy named Carl. And she actually follows him. This is all taking place in Europe, I should say. She follows him to another country where he is the leader of a youth movement. And you know what I mean by youth movement?
Yeah, they're all white.
They're not just white, they're pro-white and anti-everything else. They're white supremacists.
Yeah.
And they don't really want to say that, but they definitely mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They definitely want everyone else to get out of Europe. So, Carl, I think, realizes that Maxie will potentially have a powerful statement to make as a survivor of a terrorist attack. That's
It's a rallying point.
Yes, as a testimony, as a good a reason as any to get people out of your country, to lock it down, to be anti-immigrant or whatever you want to call it. That's going to be pretty powerful stuff. So to get her on board would be a really big get for the organization. And we know he's really gonna stop at nothing to get this revolution started. What we know, and what Maxie does not know, in fact, is that Carl is actually the one who set the bomb. So he definitely was dressed as a Middle Eastern male because he definitely wants to drum up that anger and fear, because those are the easiest way to get people to do what you want, is ratchet up the fear. And so if he can do that, and terrorism is exactly that, and have all these European people be blaming certain people for that, it's good for his cause. So he's not above manufacturing this stuff. This movie was very interesting, I thought, because to me it felt familiar, scarily familiar. It felt like it was grounded in stuff that's really happening.
Yeah.
Because his movement sort of allies itself with a politician who is right-wing and spouting some really scary slogans. And I just felt like I knew these people. Like we know these people in the world. And that's the scariest part. So in some ways, maybe this movie was a little too on the nose. But I thought it was fascinating. It's, you know, sickening and heartbreaking, but very interesting to watch where it's going and how they're going to accomplish their goals. Because a lot of times I watch movies nowadays, documentaries and stuff, and I feel so inspired by young people and how they're going to change the world. And I think I fall into the trap a lot of thinking, you know, once all these old dinosaurs die off, we won't have as many problems. But then you see a whole new generation of racists, and you're like, damn.
Yeah, that's very true. It is not just the old people that are the problem.
No.
And it's not just the young people who are the solution.
Well, for any solution to work, everyone needs to get on board.
Yeah.
So, but I liked this movie, I have to say. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree. It was an interesting movie, and like you said, it's neat that we get to see this dark side that does feel very, very real, because it is happening.
And finally, one of my favorite movies at the festival was called Language Lessons. So this one stars Natalie Morales and Mark Duplass. You know I love both of those. Natalie Morales actually directs, and they wrote the movie together. So for his birthday, Mark Duplass's husband in the movie surprises him with Spanish lessons. So Natalie Morales, her character is the Spanish teacher, and she lives in another country. I think Costa Rica, but don't quote me on that. So they're gonna have like a FaceTime lesson every week for the next like 2 years.
Wow.
Yes, husband really splashed out, but really committed him to these lessons. So I hope he really wanted them. But before the second lesson can even happen, his husband dies unexpectedly. And so these Spanish lessons really become a lesson in grief and in mourning, and they bond over shared tragedies. And I think it's true, if you share, you know, a real big life event like this with somebody, it does bring you closer very quickly. And they have some intimacy, even though they're so far apart, they really get to know each other. But she is guarded in her own way. She's been through some stuff too, and so it's hard to break down that wall that she's put up around herself. But it's a friendship, a platonic friendship, I think, that's really interesting. We rarely get to see a platonic relationship between a man and a woman.
Yep.
And so to see these two kind of grow as friends and confidants, it was really sweet and interesting to watch. And they're both such tremendous actors. And really there's no frills, right? It's just one camera. That's all you're getting. You know, you have to be really good. It's a very talky movie, of course. It is sometimes emotional, sometimes very funny. It takes you through all the ups and downs. But I like both of them, and they were really great in this, and you can tell they have a genuine friendship themselves because the chemistry is great. So, Language Lessons. Loved that one. And I got some good news for you. The South by Southwest Film Festival starts this week. I am covering it, of course, but there are still tickets left for the general public if you're interested, and Language Lessons is going to be there. So you don't have to wait for this one to come out if it sounds good to you, and it is good, so it should sound good to you. You could watch it at the South by Southwest Film Festival. They've actually got a lot of great movies. I'm going to talk about some of them shortly because they have a section called Festival Favorites. So those are ones that have already been at other film festivals, like Language Lessons that I saw at Berlin, but they've also got stuff that we saw at Sundance, which was in January. So they've got lots of great titles, some I've never heard of, some that I've already seen and will be recommending, but I'm very excited. / just a little sad because we usually love to go to this one. South by Southwest is one of our favorite festivals to attend. It's like a party. It's in
Yeah.
Austin, Texas. So it's
well,
in March, and we usually like to get a little
it's
bit of their
usually
Texas
warm down
sun.
here.
Yes.
But it's also a festival that's not just a film festival. There's also a music festival and
Comedy.
a comedy festival
And a big
tech
conference,
festival,
yeah.
and they all overlap, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
But not this year. This
Not
year
this
it's
year.
remote, like so many other things.
So we will be missing our Texas sun and some taco trucks.
Yeah. One year we went to Westworld there. They had a
that's
whole like town set up that you could go to on a bus. Our bus got a flat tire, but otherwise it was great.
Yeah, they do lots of great installations. We went to Breaking Bad one once.
Yeah, the chicken, the
Pollo
restaurant.
Loco,
yeah.
So yeah, we've done lots of stuff. It's a little sad to not be there,
it is.
but we're still gonna be watching all the movies, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, everyone.